All right, welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, your host. We're here for episode 15. Josh, I remember last summer we were talking about this podcast and, just sitting in the lobby here at the Beckham and pitching ideas. Prior to this, I was doing some sampling up in the ballroom, and that was great during COVID. But after COVID, we kind of transitioned to this podcast. It's really been fun. It's been a lot more fulfilling than I ever thought it would be. Thanks so much for joining me on this ride. We've got a great guest. Again, we're here at the Beckham. I also want to mention our sponsors, Thomas Red Construction, great sponsor. We also have Vault Arms and the Humidor. They're all three sponsors of ours, and we appreciate their participation with us. We have a great guest tonight, Josh Betts. He is co-owner of Dead Cat Ranch. I got it right that time.
Yeah.
So great to have him on. But first and foremost, I wanted to introduce you to our first pour here. We've got Duality. It's a double malt. It's finished in Pinot Noir. It's made by ASW, who is out of Atlanta. You didn't get any of this, Josh. You need to grab a little bit of it here in just a second. Duality was introduced to me the first time by the Garden Valley pick. We took a big chance by taking it. It's got a smoky flavor to it. It's really good with a cigar. So we're going to start there, kind of a light, creamy start to our journey here. Here you go. And so Josh, you are, by virtue of your hat, from Kansas City. You grew up in Kansas City.
I grew up in Kansas, so...
Okay, in Kansas.
Salina, Kansas is my hometown, so...
Gotcha.
It's pretty much smack dab in the middle of the state. Population about 45,000, so... Grew up there, went to high school, all that. Left, went to college at Kansas State University, so... Did my 4 years there, ran track, played rugby for the club team, different ventures
So when you were growing up, Kansas City Chiefs, they were just okay.
Just okay.
Right, yeah. But now you have a dynasty.
So now it's completely different from when I grew up with them. Yeah.
Right.
So it's been crazy kind of being down here, and I'm seeing Chiefs gear. So,
right.
It feels like being back home almost, just because I can see everybody wearing team, colors, team jerseys. Everybody's cheering for them.
Right.
Hope you're, don't get in trouble for me saying I'm not a big Dallas fan.
No, it's fine with me. I'm not either.
so it's great not having to deal with all the Dallas fans.
Right.
It seems like all of them are converting over to KC Chiefs fans, so it's good. I can actually cheer for a team with my wife because Dallas, I'm like, I don't really care.
Right.
And now we're both cheering for them, and we get to watch the games together. But yeah,
You guys live close to White House?
We live kind of over by Berkshire's Fresh. So
That's right.
So,
So I have a location in White House, and it's like crazy there because Pat grew up there, and so it's all the people in White House take pride in kind of like, I guess, raising him a little bit to a certain degree, even though he's been gone for a long period of time. I definitely didn't see him as a player like this in college. I didn't. I saw kind of a run and gun Johnny Manziel type of guy. And now you see a guy who has a ton of experience, has like just Tom Brady type of pizzazz and just calmness in the toughest parts of the game.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. I don't like to watch sports too much on TV.
Yeah.
I love being at the games in the atmosphere, watching things live, and it's great. But he made it fun to watch on TV for me. So it's definitely one of those that you can see him from his early days as the Chiefs and watch him when he was a little more wild and throwing more, no look behind the back pass,
right.
Things like that. But you can kind of see what Coach Reed has done with him, and kind of calmed him down. Still has those plays, those streaks of greatness, and like how did he pull that off type of plays and throws and everything. But you can definitely see the maturity happening now with him and everybody else on the team.
Yeah, are you texting people back home during the Super Bowl or like friends, family and stuff?
Sometimes I just stay on Facebook and everybody's commenting. So now I have Kansas people commenting on things. And
you missed this call. That's a makeup call, or
Yeah, last 2 years I've been lucky enough to be able to make it back and go to see a game. So that's always been good.
Yeah. So you grew up in Kansas. You go to school. You go to K-State. You're doing track. You're rugby, which I've never played rugby personally.
So yeah,
it's a pretty tough sport.
So I was done with track, and then one of my roommates played for the club team there. And when I moved in with him, he was like, "Hey, you're not doing track anymore. Why don't you come play rugby?" I'm like, "No, I'm 170 pounds,
right,
skinny." I'm like, they look like you, and he's your typical stereotypical rugby player look.
Yeah, big bone,
bald, one's tape wrapped around his head looking type guy. So he's like, "No, you're one of the fast, pretty boys. We'll put you in the back line." So he convinced me to come out. Did a practice with him. Had a good time. It was fun. Left practice and they're like, "Hey, we got our alumni game this weekend. Why don't you come out, check it out, kind of learn about it, see how it's played, see the rules." And as I was leaving, he's like, "Hey, you need to bring a kit with you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "They're going to put you in." I'm like, "I've been to one practice. I have no clue what I'm doing." He's like, "You better bring something with you. They're gonna put you in the game." I'm like,
Bring what with you? You have to bring
cleats and
pads or light pads.
There's no pads.
So
they kind of wear a little like Under Armour on some guys, but no, like just your shorts and t-shirt, and make sure you bring some cleats with you. And so I had a pair of cleats and brought those along, and sure enough, they're like, "Hey, go get in, try it out."
You're just running into people.
I don't know what to do. They're like, if somebody in front of you has the ball, tackle them. If you have the ball and you're about to get tackled, pass it off to somebody. So that was it, and that was just
it's like
you're throwing me off into the deep end, trying to learn to swim.
It's like a game of two-hand touch in your front yard that turns into tackle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh wow.
That was my initiation into rugby, but it was fun, and so I played it the 2 semesters I had left there, and then continued on and played in Colorado when I was out there. Played back home in Salina, Kansas. They had started a team, so I jumped on that.
So what made you move to Colorado? Was it a career?
Just gone out, went skiing with some of my friends. They had a roommate that needed somebody because theirs moved out, and I loved Colorado.
Yeah.
And had always wanted to live out there, so got done with my trip, and they're like, "Hey," I'm like, "Are you really serious about wanting me a roommate?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Let me think about it." So my 9-hour drive back to Kansas City or whatever, I thought about it, and so I'm like, "Yeah, let me come back out here in a couple weeks, see if I can find a job."
Mm-hmm.
Drove back out, interviewed a few places, found some work, and then I put in my 2 weeks at my job in KC and moved out. And lived out there for 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And after that, met my wife online, kind of through that and everything. And
what part of Colorado?
Here. First moved out to Fort Collins. So
okay.
I lived up there for about 6 months. Had a great time. It was a cool town. Old Town's fun if you've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
Go down to Old Town. All kinds of great things to do. Then I just happened to be going up in the mountains more, and so I wanted to be a little closer, so I moved down to Denver, and I knew a few people down there by that point. And so moving down to Denver and getting a assistant manager job for one of the big landscape companies down there, and had a great time. And, was able to be on the mountains, go every weekend, go up for a quick hike or whatever, and hit the slopes in the winter and rafting in the summer. So I had a great time.
It's awesome up there. We lived in Amarillo for 6 years, and that's where we went during mostly mud season.
Okay.
We go up there and I don't snow ski, but we did the rafting. We did hiking, biking, mostly in Vail, either Vail or Winter Park.
Yeah.
Both great places.
Winter Park a lot. During the time I was living there, Vitamin Water had a special going on. Buy like 10 of those and you get a lift ticket.
Oh.
So for $12, you're getting a lift ticket versus the $80-$90 it was then.
Right.
And so
nice.
I take advantage of that and run up to Winter Park, ski the Widow Jane section a lot. So it was fun. But, Breck's probably one of my favorite towns up there. I love Breckenridge.
So you meet your wife there in Colorado?
Yeah, kind of met her online, and so she actually told me not to tell the story, but I told her I would.
Go ahead, please.
So, yeah, she was in Baylor at the time.
Oh,
And,
wow.
I guess she just kind of gone through a breakup.
Yeah.
And so her and her friend or roommate were, at the house one night, and she was on the computer on MySpace, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
What that was.
Absolutely.
For the younger listeners, it was a pre-Facebook
Right.
social group. But she found out through all their filters, you could find your perfect match.
Oh.
And
It's like Match.com
Yeah,
before Match.com.
yeah, so they're having their wine or whatever that night, and kind of going through all these filters. Like, hey, I'm gonna put all this in, and put all her factors in this filter, and then like 3 pages in the U.S. pop up, and I happen to be on one of them. So she's like, hey, it seems like he has a lot in common with me. So she messaged me through this.
Yeah.
And
it hit your pager. Did it hit your pager?
Yeah, it didn't hit my pager yet. And so, I get it. I'd only been on MySpace for a couple months. I'm like, cool. Messages from, and so looked at her profile. She had skydiving pictures and all these high adventure type stuff. I'm like,
nice.
So this is before you're having to be leery of catfishing and all that type of stuff. So I messaged her back. We talked for quite a while through Messenger, and eventually started talking on the phone. And probably about a year later, I fly down to Dallas and meet up with her, and we hung out for the weekend and kind of started doing a little long distance dating.
Yeah.
And probably after 6 months, kind of broke up because it wasn't quite the right time yet. And then a couple of years later, we're still talking on Facebook at that point.
Right.
And so she was putting on her company Christmas party, and I was kind of joking around like, hey, do you need a date? And she's like, well, actually, yeah. So came down here and went to her party and hung out for the weekend, and still had that connection. So we started doing the long distance dating again.
Right. Here we go again.
I was kind of back and forth between Kansas and Colorado at that point. And then about 3 or 4 months in, things are going good still. So I'm like, hey, I'm kind of at the point where I can go wherever I want to right now. Why don't I come down, check it out, see if this is something real or not. Like, if it works out, awesome. If it doesn't, I can just move back or whatever. So she's like, all right, as long as you have a place to stay, a job, and I can still have my girls' nights.
Yeah.
I'll be up for it. So needless to say, I'm still here 14 later. So
wow.
14 years later, it still worked out. So
yeah, that was a big.
That's how I came down to Texas.
Yeah, that's a huge move. You started here in Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she, after Baylor, she came to Tyler.
Yeah, she was back in Tyler by that point.
Yeah, her family's from here?
Correct.
Yeah, got it. So where does Krav Maga come into play?
Krav Maga, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Probably 8% of people pronounce it that way.
Okay,
so,
got it.
Krav Maga is what the Israeli military force uses for their hand-to-hand combat training. So when I was in Colorado, one of my good friends there, he's ex-military. He's a Marine reconnaissance sniper. And so he was out of the military by that point. So he's like, I'm looking for a new, I want to get back into training and stuff like this. He's like, you interested? And I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to do some type of self-defense.
Sure.
So he's like, let me look at some things. I'll see what I find. I'll get back with you. So he sent me a link to this school doing Krav Maga. I'm like, he's like, they taught us, a couple days of this in training one time, and it seems pretty cool. You want to check it out? I'll go check it out with you. So go into the school, kind of like rugby, and just enjoyed the first class.
Yeah.
Had fun, and then I just started training, and so I started out in Colorado doing it. So I did about 2 years there, and then there was a school here when I moved here, so continued doing it down here. Got my instructor's license. So it's been fun. I do private trainings, so I don't have a school or anything to do it at. But if people want private lessons or go to their business, I'll do a kind of a class for a whole office building if they want to learn how to do situational awareness, what to do if they get attacked in the parking lot, things like that. You can do that. I have a few nonprofits I've done, a couple women's groups. Every year I do a demo presentation for Girl Power, junior league event. So it's for, I think, 6th grade girls. And so I go in there and bring one of my friends. She helps me out. And so Hannah kind of starts off the the presentation, I run up, attacker, we do a full out demo, and I just escalate everything just from a bear hug all the way up to, basically attacking her at gunpoint. She does gun defense, so the girls are all cheering and rooting for that, and so I get the girls into it, and then we kind of just briefly talk about what they need to look out for and situational awareness, and then teach them some few skills and stuff, so then they get to hit the pad. So they enjoy it, and it's one of their favorite sessions during the program, I think. So.
Yeah, I bet. Watching you get beat up, right?
Yeah, actually, that's the favorite part of the session. I think watching me get beat up, and then they get to hit the pads, and it's always fun.
Do you have like a link or something that you promote that with, or is it just word of mouth?
Usually word of mouth.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook. You can get me through the ranch website or anything like that.
Okay.
But yeah, at the ranch we have a winter camp every year.
Yeah.
A bunch of people that come down from Kansas City, people from the metro
Definitely
areas.
wanted to get into that. Yeah. Because when you were telling me about that earlier, I was like, what?
Yeah, so it's basically a weekend. We do it at the ranch, and the organization I'm affiliated with, the main guy's out in Pennsylvania, so he brings a bunch of people down, a bunch of people from Kansas City come down, this area. And so there's probably about 30, 50 people out there for the weekend. And we do jiu-jitsu training, we do Krav Maga, knife defenses, gun defenses, pistol training, and rifle training. So it's just kind of depending on what the theme is that year, but you get all kinds of skill sets through the whole weekend. They've done third-party defenses, carjacking situations, so it's been fun.
Yeah, before we get too hot and heavy into what you guys do out at the ranch, how did you get involved in the ranch? Like, what stage were you in when you finally said, "Hey, look, I need to either"? Was it already established, or did you guys found it?
So it's been in my wife's family. So it's her father has had it for 40 plus years. Okay. So my first exposure to it was when I moved down here, and we started going out there. She's like, "Hey, my dad has this property out here, and they had ATVs and trails and a little clubhouse, and it was fun just to go out and do outdoor activities and we go out there, stay the weekend, ride around the trails, fish, shoot, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of progressed from there. Then he built a pool out there, and then more places to stay. So we actually had a proper place to stay when we were out there overnight. Right. And
so it started out as like a family cabin, or
he kind of just had a clubhouse out there, and then there's an old bunkhouse that had a few rooms in it, and so then on the clubhouse he built a bedroom, and then eventually he built a cabin out there. So it's just kind of progressed, and so we always like to share the activities with friends. We'd have these things called farm days, and invite a bunch of friends out, and everybody just kind of hangs out, and then shoots clay, shoot pistols, hang out in the tub, go fish, go ride along the trails and all that. So we just make a weekend of that. And so in probably 2020, we kind of got to the point where he was letting us kind of take over. He didn't really want to have to manage the daily stuff with the ranch manager and all that. So he was like, kind of time for you guys to take over. So, a few things we're trying to make a little better and this and that. And then we came up with the idea, well, hey, let's start doing some Airbnb stays out here. We enjoy having people out here at the ranch and doing the weekends. He enjoyed having people out and experiencing the ranch. And so we just kind of talked about it and came up with this idea to have stays out there and offer all the activities. And so it's kind of the creation of Dead Cat Ranch with the stays as a business instead of just a playground. Right.
Yeah. I read the story on Dead Cat Ranch on kind of how the name was come up with. Okay. Like apparently there was a girl. She was in a field. She's following some butterflies, and she continues to walk to find these butterflies, getting closer and closer. She's mesmerized by them. The sun's setting, and she continues to walk through. She gets into these woods, where there's some misfits there. We'll just call them that. That's a nice way of putting it. And they're not supposed to be there, and they're probably wanted, and they see her. By this time, it's gotten pretty dark, or the sun it was in the horizon, and she stumbles upon them. They stand up. They're about to make a decision about what they're going to do to her because nobody can see them, and then a cat comes out of nowhere that's kind of a hybrid of a couple different kind of cats, right?
Yeah.
Panther, wolf, cougar, all this type of. Yes, I mean, I'm just reading through it, and then she closes her eyes. They're all gone. So then she's like trying to make her way back. She looks back, and there's the hologram or kind of the shadow of a cat on the hill that's looking back at her, and then so now when the wind blows through the prairie or through the hills, pasture, whatever, when it whistles through there, some people say they hear some of the shrieks of the
cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Did I summarize it okay?
Yeah, you summarized it good.
Okay.
It's probably been a while since I've read the storyline too, but yeah, when we first opened, because that's the big question, because it's a unique name.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, how'd you come up with that? And so we're like, well, there's multiple stories around it, what the true origin of the name was, and so we're like, let's have a little contest. So we put it out to our followers and everything, come up with the best campfire story or best origin story for Dead Cat Ranch.
And
so
before
that's actually one of the winners of the contest for coming up with the best origin story of Dead Cat Ranch.
What was it called before?
It's always been Dead Cat Ranch.
Oh, it's always.
Yeah.
And so I would assume the basis is the hearing of shrieks of a cat sound, which bobcats make.
Yeah, you got
and
bobcats.
Other cats make, but it's horrifying when you hear it.
Yeah, so the person was just a good storyteller.
Yeah.
So she just created all that, so it's our legend of Dead Cat Ranch.
Right.
But if you come out to the ranch and you talk to us, you can hear the real origin story.
Yeah.
It's not quite as mystic as that. But
right.
You can hear it and get the true info on where the name came from.
If you are looking for a reputable builder with a proven track record and a client base to back it up, give Red Construction and Development LLC a call. Red Construction offers full design build services for new construction, custom homes, and remodeling with free site evaluations. They have an A+ rating with the BBB and are proud members of the Tyler Area Builders Association, Texas Association of Builders, National Association of Home Builders, and the Lindale Area Chamber of Commerce. Red Construction and Development LLC stands behind the exceptional quality of their work and have the expertise, the resources, and dedication to deliver the results you need on time and on budget. To learn more, give them a call at 903-630-8660 or visit them online at redconstructiondevelopment.com.
The ranch is located in Palestine or near Palestine?
Yeah, it's just right before you get in town if you're coming from like Tyler or coming from the north. So it's about 4 or 5 minutes right side out of town.
Okay.
It's 1,200 acres.
1,200 acres.
Yeah.
You come in and so traditional, like I got on your website, you can log in, deadcatranch.com.
Deadcatranchtx.com.
tx.com. You can you log in, you can select like corporate activities or maybe your nonprofit. Kind of they talk about a little bit what's your purpose, are you here to get something accomplished, are you here to ministry, are you here to do what have you, how many nights do you want to stay, how many people are in your party, are there kids involved. I mean, it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, we just try to make it as easy as possible for you to figure out what you want to do there, because we have quite a few activities. We have 5 different places to stay, or you can actually rent the whole ranch. So we just try to get the information to you as easy as possible. Try to figure out what you want to do, because you can come out and just sit on the porch and read your book and not be around anybody, which a lot of people like to do, or you can come out and take advantage of all the activities. So yeah, that's a good thing about the website is, it kind of gives you a bunch of information, tells you what the best places to stay for the group size that you have come down, and then if you want to rent the whole ranch, you just give us a call so we can kind of better figure out what you want to rent the whole ranch for and let you know. But it sleeps about 36 people total.
Wow.
You can even add on, excuse me.
That's okay. We can edit that out.
All right. But yeah, if you rent the whole ranch, we have 6 full hookup RV spots too.
Nice.
We have 5 RV hookups with electricity and water. And then,
You're going to do it again, aren't you?
I'm thinking about it. But yeah, so it's great for family reunions.
Yeah.
We're trying to market towards some more corporate retreats.
Yeah.
We've had some churches come out there and do activities.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you just rent an individual cabin with 1,200 acres, you still kind of feel like you have the whole place to yourself. But we have a 1-bedroom cabin, 2-bedroom cabin, 2 Airstreams,
Mm-hmm.
and a bunkhouse that sleeps about 22 people.
Oh, wow.
So the bunkhouse is on the other side of the property, so you really don't even know they're there.
Sounds like a guy's trip or a girl's trip.
Yeah, we've had girls' parties out there, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, just girls' getaways, things like that. So it has something for everybody. That bunkhouse has its own pool and hot tub, so you don't even have to go over to the main part to use the pool and hot tub anymore.
Right.
So it's something for everything.
The other thing I liked about the website is when I was navigating through it and trying to select my days and select how many people I had and what kind of experience I want to have, it talked about some of the stuff y'all do out there, like events. It said, are you interested in? It had like 9 different things I could do, or it was 7 or 8 or 9. It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
Horseback riding, right?
Yeah. So the activities that we have, so included, you can walking trails, ATV trails. You can bring your own ATV, UTV
Sweet.
out there if you want to. We have a fishing pond. There's a dock out there, a gazebo. We have kayaks, john boats. So you can take those out on the pond and fish, or just take the boats out and paddle around. We have ATVs to rent. We have axe throwing. We have a bunkhouse has its own game room, so we have ping pong, I think foosball table in there. The main area has a little basketball goal, axe throwing, cornhole, so there's a lot of stuff to do out there. We have pool and hot tub at the main area too for all those guests. So the main area has the 2 cabins and 2 Airstreams, so about maybe 20 people total over there that can use that space. And then we also have the horseback riding. Our ranch manager does all that, so he takes you out and you can ride as long as you want or as little as you want. But basically, over 12 can do the horseback riding. It's an extra fee, but you go out and he'll take you in the back pastures where you really don't get to see. None of the ATV trails are back there, but usually about an hour-long ride. Going through there, beautiful scenery.
I bet.
Nice pastures over some tree groupings and things like that, so great ride. And then we do clay shooting, target shooting, pistol rifle, and then shooting classes. So we have rifles, AR, shotguns to rent, pistols to rent. So if you don't have your own stuff, you can try things out. A lot of people have never tried clay shooting, so they like to try that and see how they are. The clay shooting.
It's harder than you think, that's for sure.
Those moving targets, they're difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
And then a lot of people go and they've had their CCL license and had it for 3 years and haven't pulled their gun out since, and so they actually have a place to shoot it, so they'll go and do some target shooting. Or some people just want to improve their skills, so I'll do a little class with them. Actually had a group of like 9 guys a couple weeks ago do a big class, and we did some advanced gun drills with them, so that was fun. We had a big bachelor party out there, so.
Nobody got hurt.
Yeah. No, we got safety's top priority.
Right.
Anything I don't like, I tell them,
Yeah.
no questions asked,
Come
you're
sober.
out. So, like, you're either safe or you're out. So.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Any tactical areas? Do you have the? little pass-throughs and things like that?
Hopefully, we're working on getting a big kind of shooting range over 200-yard rifle range.
Okay.
Pistol range with covered area to shoot from, and then do a tactical range, have steel set up, maybe eventually have some competitions out there. They
That'd be cool.
3-gun competitions or scenario competitions that they do. So just things out there. I think the law enforcement's talked about coming out and doing some training, so it'd be nice to have that for them to come out and do. We have a few events out there, like a run and gun. So Old 18 Defense is a company in Texas that does run and gun competitions. So
Okay.
these competitions go out to ranches throughout Texas, and they have a night one, they have a marathon one. So they just basically go up, set up different stations throughout these ranches, and you have to carry your full kit with you. So at our ranch this year, they did a kind of marathon one. So they set up 5 stations, I believe. And so you have to carry your rifle and pistol and all your magazines with you. If you want water, all that, everything's on you. And you run, jog, walk to each station. Each station has a different shooting scenario. So it may be a pistol, it may be a rifle, it may be both. So you
I think I remember
explore
you
on that.
You weren't supposed to do it, but you did it
Yeah,
last year.
I was hoping to just take the UTV and go shoot the stations and have fun a couple days before, but the schedules didn't work out, and then so if I was going to go do it, I had to go that day that they're doing the competition. So I just threw my stuff on and kind of spur of the moment ran through the course real quick. But it's about a 4-mile course, but this year they let people go as many times as they wanted to, and so you're scored better on the more times you go through.
Right.
There's a couple guys that basically ran a full marathon through the whole day.
Oh.
And shooting it.
In their gear.
Yeah. So I was definitely impressed by that, because after the 4 miles, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to go through again.
Right.
But yeah, I got to shoot stations. It's fun. We have a big, about 30-foot tower in the middle of the property, and just for this event, we let people go up in that. But yeah, it's fun just to kind of go out and different shooting scenarios, and it's different from just shooting at paper targets.
No hunting at the Dead Cat Ranch.
No, we don't do any hunting.
Right.
There's quite a few hunting ranches around that area, so we just felt that logistically it was too big of an issue, and didn't want to have people hunting when we had just regular guests staying there. So,
Right. What's the biggest draw to that, to the ranch?
To the ranch, it's a great getaway.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people from the metros coming out, so they just want to get away from the city, be out in the country. It's a great place. You can just come. You don't really have to leave the ranch. Every place has a full kitchen in it, so you can just bring your food, you can cook everything there. There's plenty of stuff to do around the area too.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either come, relax, not do a thing, and just get away, or you can come and do everything and have a fun time doing all the activities. So
Yeah, I saw one of the options that I thought was really cool. I haven't seen this in any of the Airbnbs I've stayed in or any of the hotels, but there was an option where you could have your room stocked daily, which I thought was pretty cool.
We do we call it stock your fridge. So if you're coming in, you don't have time to run the grocery store and all that, we'll do the shopping for you. Just give us your shopping list, and for a small fee, we'll go out and make sure everything's in the fridge and cabin for you.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, we do.
I wish all Airbnbs would offer that.
Yeah, that would be great. It's great that we have staff out there that can handle it and do it. Most Airbnbs, there's nobody there. You just show up and walk in. So everybody's a little thrown off when they book through Airbnb, because you can book through the website or Airbnb. And so when you're going through Airbnb, you don't really expect a kind of a full service experience out there, because we try to meet everybody, sign some waivers, paperwork, show them where everything is, how to get around the ranch and all that. So there's a little more to it than just a regular Airbnb.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to be serenaded by our first train here.
Oh,
It's a good time to rinse.
Okay.
And then we've got saxophone tonight, which I think is pretty interesting.
That's
First
great.
time we've had a saxophone serenade us.
I like the train.
Yeah, it's a good stopgap
Yep.
to the podcast. What's up,
Daughter's 5, so
Yeah.
we'll come up and we'll take the train into Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And just do a weekend there. And she loves just taking the train in, and then once you get to Fort Worth, you can pretty much either Uber or just walk her to where we just stay.
It'll take you all the way to the stockyards, won't it? or close to it?
Yeah, right downtown.
Yeah.
And so we just get off the train, walk to one of the hotels nearby that we've booked, and then we Uber the stockyard or whatever. So it's fun, quick weekend, something different.
Absolutely. My dad was worked for the UP Railroad for 40 years, and so some of my earliest memories were running a train and just hitting the gas, hitting the lever, and making a locomotive go. It's just odd feeling, making that much metal move, and especially if you're going over a bridge. Probably shouldn't be telling that story. Somebody's probably listening, going, "What the hell? Train commission?" You know. Here's one that you requested.
Yeah,
Midwinter's Night Dram.
Try this one up. Heard about it.
It's a blend of rye. It's a really good finish in port barrels.
Yeah.
Made by High West out of Utah. It's they're a really cool distillery. They have a couple storefronts in Utah, but their storefront in Park City, which is up in the mountains, is my favorite. Park City is a cool little town. A lot of small little shops there, and High West is there too, which is my favorite stop. Cool bottle, great story, kind of a spin-off of Midwinter's Night Dream. And so on the back of it has the act and the scene, and it kind of tells you Shakespeare what he wrote and that. So anyway, it's a really good port. It's a nice selection with it being still cold outside.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about some upcoming events if you have any, and then wow, is that the second train? I don't think they have two lines, do they? Maybe they do. Huh. Go back to it if you have some events, and then we'll talk about something pretty interesting that you just did.
Okay.
So any current events, anything coming up soon?
We have a few, big private events that are out there, usually in the spring. So we have a couple of those coming up. We do the.
You team up with anybody? Do any cookouts or?
Not yet.
Okay. Any ideas?
You want to have some fun stuff like I'm in the shrine, so we've talked about having a weekend event out there for everybody doing cookouts and stuff like that. This fall, we've talked about we want to do a concert out there.
Okay.
So we're talking about maybe October, November, after it's cooled down a little bit, getting an artist and having a concert out there. So getting a stage out there. And
that'd be awesome.
Have a big shindig. We did it once before we were even open, just when it was our friends. So we had a few bands out there for the weekend. We called it Pharmapalooza.
Okay.
And so we just had our friends out and we paid for some bands to come in. And I think we did 2 nights of it. And we had some local groups come out and played. And then the next night we had artist I had discovered when I was in Denver, and then when I was talking to Stacey, she's like, "Oh yeah, I like him too." And his name's Joe Firstman.
Okay.
He used to be on Carson Daly's Last Call.
Okay.
He was his band leader for that show. And so I'd seen him play in Denver. She knew about him, so he was kind of one of our co-artists that we liked. And then when she worked at Lago, she booked him there, and so he came out and played at Lago de Pino. So when we were talking about this, we had kind of got to know him a little bit when he played there. So he's like, "Yeah, we'll come down and we're coming through, and so we'll come out, hang out the weekend, play your show." And so it's kind of cool to hang out with them and get to know him more.
Yeah.
And so he's in a band called the Cordovas now. So he just kind of formed that band when he came out there, and it's kind of unique to see how he's progressed over the years.
Is he local or is he
He's
back
from
in Colorado?
Nashville.
Oh, he's in Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he lives in
Nice.
Nashville right now. So we still keep in contact with him, and when he's in town, we'll try to go see him in Dallas or wherever he's playing.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be awesome to have a concert out there.
we're trying to figure out what size of artists we want to get out there. If we want to contact a few other people to go in on it with us and get a bigger artist, or
Right.
So it'd be fun to just have a big party event out there for everybody. And then we got the places to stay.
Yeah.
So it's good for a few people. And
Right.
get out there and just make a whole weekend of it.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, you guys just had a lot of fun at your neighbor down there, right?
Yeah.
Tawakero?
Oh, yeah, Tom.
Yeah. We had Trent on the show.
Yeah.
We
were talking about
a couple
that.
episodes ago, and talk about it. He knows the stuff. He likes to talk about it.
He's definitely gotten into it since he's been there now.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it was great to see him transition into that place, and he loves it so much, and knows so much about it.
Always liked Trent at the humidor, so I was glad when I saw that he was starting at TAW.
It's funny, whenever I knew he transitioned out, I reached out to him and said, look, man, I know what kind of guy you are. You could come do what I do pretty easily. He's like, man, I got a couple irons in the fire. And when I realized one of them was Tawakera, I was like, all right, well, I'll push you that way. I think you're better suited for that anyway.
Yeah. Seems like he's having fun.
Yeah, so you guys got to meet up, and what all did y'all get to do?
Well, I've been talking to Justin for a year plus about doing a barrel, because when I think Todd moved to town about the same time we opened the ranch up for business, so we kind of been talking to him to kind of cross promote each other, get Whiskey Trail people to come in and promote to stay at the ranch when they do that. And anyway that we have at the ranch, promote to go to TAW and do tastings and tours and all that. So kind of been talking to Justin for quite a while, and then last year we're talking about doing a barrel pick and just having that for some friends and family and special guests and things like that to give out. And so finally last week we got the go-ahead to do it, and so me and a group of the guys went down there and had their help on picking out a barrel. And so I love the rye, so I was kind of looking more towards the rye. Trent picked out a variety of stuff on the first go-round, so we all get in there and tasted all those. Me and Haas, we like our high-proof stuff, so Trent had a lot of
We're gonna have Haas.
proofs.
We're gonna have Haas on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be closer to the summertime.
Okay.
Kind of got a lot booked really fast because there were certain people that I wanted on in certain genres. I'm not picking just distillers. I'm not picking just brewers.
Yeah.
I want people of all backgrounds and entrepreneurs and folks that are fundraising, nonprofits and stuff like that. Get their name out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but then I thought, man, he's got such a name
following now.
that and there's a group of guys that go up to the humidor Tuesday nights because he gets up there on Tuesday nights and his story. So I want to tell his story, you know, and how he's come to be and his personality. It's just awesome. But anyway,
once you see that one, you'll understand.
Well, I mean, it's hearing the name the first time is just know that that's somebody who has a very strong aura around him that people gravitate to.
He does.
He also lives in that area.
He
close
lives in
to
Palestine.
It.
He's he knows Jason, Justin's brother.
Yep.
Jason owns Axe and Oak,
Yep.
so he has a relationship with him.
Yep.
Haas goes to Todd, goes to the tasting bar there, so he's well versed in everything.
Sure.
And plus, he was one of the staples of the group. And so we've become close since I've been in the whiskey club. And since we have the ranch out there. And just is in one of those categories. I'm like, hey, let's go and do this. And so had Haas and Luke and Daniel and a couple of my other friends go out there. Last year we went out there just to do a tour and some tastings, and we had a play day at the ranch. And so this year when I finally got to do the barrel pick, I'm like, let's just have all those same guys come out and do this because I know they like stuff.
Yeah.
And so went in, Trent pulled all the samples, everything was good, and then I'm like, he'd only pulled one rye. I'm like, well, let's go try a few more.
Right.
And I'm kind of leaning towards that. So we're out there, and he was, well, let's try this barrel. And so the first one,
So just so you
kind of knew that one right there.
Yeah, y'all are in the barrel room.
Yeah,
right? Take us to
the barrel room,
and he's
so
got
it's a big warehouse. You got the stills and vats out there and everything, and so
he's thieving out of barrels.
Yeah. So we all have our
poured it in your glass.
our little glasses out there.
Right. Non-filtered.
Yeah, non-filtered. So you just got all the different size whiskey barrels. So he's kind of looking for the 25-gallon ones and the ryes. Like, all right, let's try this one. So he pulls the bung out, takes the copper thief and pours in each glass. So there's a special experience about having a drink straight from the barrels. So if you ever get to do a tour where they pull from the barrel, it's just a different taste to it. I don't know if it's mental or if it's truly just that amazing straight from the barrel.
I mean, you feel like a VIP.
Yeah,
in certain ways.
Great experience to it. So if you get an opportunity, try it.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience, and having that, just you have employees from the distillery that are representing the distillery. Then you have Rick Masters that have set aside certain barrels as their kind of earmarked 5-star, 4-star barrels that they want to allocate towards picks because they know they're going to end up in people's hands, opened, and people are going to go, wow, this is better than what I find on the shelf.
Yeah.
Whether it's a blend or what have you, it's just better because somebody earmarked it and it just has a unique flavor to it, profile. And then to have that one-on-one contact with some of the people that you care about so much and you trust and with the experience, and you have someone thieving it out of a barrel just unfiltered. This has been in the Rick House for 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Here we are taking the bung out for maybe the first time in a long, long time. And other than the Rick Master tasting it, it's a truly unique experience. Yeah. And it's one that you never forget, especially when you find the right one.
Vault Arms is your premier destination for all things firearms. Extensive selection of handguns, rifles, shotguns, and accessories. Knowledgeable staff to assist you in finding the perfect firearm to fit your needs. State-of-the-art gun range equipped with the latest technology for a safe and thrilling shooting experience. Take advantage of our professional shooting instruction and training programs suitable for all skill levels. Host your next group outing, corporate event, or bachelor party at our spacious and secure shooting facility. Committed to promoting responsible gun ownership and firearm safety. Fully licensed and compliant with all state and federal regulations.
First ride that we went out and tasted out in the warehouse, we were like, there's something different about that one. That one's kind of the special one. Look around there, bells. I'm like, there's definitely something there with that one.
Okay.
So, we did that, tried a few more, like, that one's not as good as this one. That was good, but not as good. So it kind of, fell on that one. Then we went over and tried a couple red and blue corn ones. First one he popped was great nose if you like butterscotch. It's just pure butterscotch nose to it. The mouth taste was still great. So, and then we had sampled a red and blue corn that we tried and they've kind of, given samples to and tours before. We tried it last year when we had the little get-together. Mm-hmm. So we're like, what about that one? We still have, a liking for this barrel here. Like, can we try another one just to make sure that it's just not all mental. And so we try that red and blue one and like, that's still good. And so I don't know if they necessarily were looking to get rid of that one, but I got the rye barrel that it came in for, and then just so happened out of that tasting, the rest of the group that was there for the tasting decided to go ahead and get that barrel.
Get the red and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to stay.
Nice and special. You have to stay tuned.
We'll just have to stay tuned where that ends up landing, right?
For the barrel, and I think we have a pretty good sticker idea for it too.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
And the other thing to keep in mind is in this current age, there's a lot of debate about sourcing. Distillers buying juice that's been distilled already, and it's important to know that Tawakera is grain to glass.
Yeah, it's grain to glass.
And most of what they make is 4 grain.
Yeah.
But I think their rye is maybe a different mash bill. I can't remember what Trent told us. But it still has a different yeast strain than some others. But they're doing everything in house.
Everything's in house,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see the progress. Like 4 or 5 years ago, they were still learning a couple things here and there, and their stuff now is freaking crazy good.
Yeah, it's some of my favorite actually. It's nice that it's right in our backyard too.
So, and some of the first barrel picks I ever tasted were Tabacaro and Axon Oak.
Mm-hmm.
And the one of my favorite local picks that's ever been done is an Axon Oak pick.
Yeah.
It was a Fight Club.
Yeah.
I don't know if
think
you
I have
ever
that
had
bottle at home. Yeah.
My gosh.
I don't know if I've opened it, but I know I have the bottle. So.
Yeah, well, I had 3, now I have 1, and so it's one that I grab all the time if I can. And I have a pretty good relationship with Jason too. We've done a couple picks with him, and he's just super great guy. I don't know Justin as much, but if he's anything like Jason,
yeah,
I mean,
they're
peas in the pod probably.
So nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't let you leave without talking about Kilimanjaro. Your wife forced me, so you weren't supposed to tell the story, and we kind of skipped past that part. But talks. I don't even think I could fathom what it would take to do something like that. But you were doing it for a nonprofit, right?
Yeah. So actually, when we were talking about things to discuss, I'd kind of forgotten I had even done this, or sometimes I don't feel like a lot of my stories are that impressive, but then my wife's like, no, that's talk about that.
That is
and so
amazing.
One of my buddies I grew up in Salina with, he lived in York, England for work. So his dad has a company in Salina, and then they have a European division, they make valves, so he's out running this European division. And his family had climbed Kilimanjaro once or twice before, and in the process, they had met a doctor from Alaska, him and his wife. And so part of the time they stayed in Alaska and worked on their profession, and the rest of the time they're over in Africa working with orphanages. And so Travis got this idea of raising some money for one of these orphanages, and so he's like, let's get a team together, we'll raise money and climb Kilimanjaro. So this was back in 2016, 2017.
It's a little bit different than raising money and running like a half marathon.
Yeah, I know, it's a little different.
Or like Truvine and Tyler used to do like a deal where you run a mile, but you drink like halfway through it or something, and you raise money that way. That's quite a bit different climbing Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, it definitely different. So he told me about it. It was actually on my bucket list of things to do was to climb Kilimanjaro. So I'm like, well, that's serendipitous.
Yeah.
And so finally talked my wife into letting me go. She's a little nervous about climbing a mountain halfway around the world. And, Africa's largest freestanding mountain. And so it was a worthy cause. And so there is about 13 of us on this trip, and it was only me and one guy from Austin that I hadn't known before. From the States I went, besides my friend who put this together. And then everybody else was from York, England. And then one guy from Australia. And then the doctor and his wife climbed with us too. But we all raised money. Can't remember exactly, $15,000+.
Wow.
And so went to an orphanage. I know I built a well for them and did a few other things to the community. But the experience of going. I'd never been to Africa before, so going to Tanzania. Get off the plane. I have a big, huge duffel bag. It's red, north face, so it's pretty easy to spot when the luggage carts are coming around. You don't have the traditional turnstile. You can really see them bringing the luggage from the plane. I'm like, I don't see my bag.
Oh man!
So I have my carry-on. It's a big hiking sack. So I had the main essentials in there, in case something happened, which it happened like this. So my main bag didn't come through. So they lost my bag.
Wow!
And luckily, it was like 2 days before we climbed. Kept going to the hotel every day. I'm like, heard anything? Have you found my bag? They're like, no, not yet. Finally, like the day before, they're like, okay, yes, your bag's come in. They're gonna bring it here. I'm like, oh, thank you, because I could have hiked, but it would have been even more rough and miserable than
Yeah.
what it was already going to be. So, because I had just the bare essentials to make it through. But luckily, my bag came in
Right.
the last minute, so I got lucky there. But
What was
It
the
was,
one thing that you would have just dreaded not having?
I can't remember exactly what I had in the personal bag versus the essentials bag.
Was there any? Was it?
Probably I didn't have as much extra snacks and food, and in
Right.
the personal bag there's probably more.
What was the
one that
hardest
got
part
left.
of doing that?
It was probably the stomach height, because just the altitude at that point. I think Kilimanjaro is around 19,200 and some feet to the summit. First day we're on the hike. It starts raining, so it's kind of miserable for the first day and a half, 2 days. At one point, we're literally crossing this flowing, gushing river.
Yeah.
And they said the day before it was a trickle stream you'd step over.
Right.
At this point, we're having to find a safe point to be able to jump from rock to rock to get across this point. So, at that point, you're like drying out everything. So it's a little miserable the first couple days.
Yeah.
You're
Socks
walking
are wet.
from jungle terrain all the way up to desert, tundra, glacier at the very top. So you go through every level of kind of an ecosystem.
Right.
Monkeys and everything down here to barren, and you see ice glaciers in the distance.
Wow.
But it's beautiful scenery. You got these amazing sunset sunrises over clouds. You're literally above the clouds. You can see down on top of them as the sun rises and sets. But yeah, that summit day, we get up early. We start hiking to base camp for the summit, and kind of start getting some kind of acid reflux, indigestion, and just kind of start dragging through the day. And by the time we get to base camp, it's probably 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and they have a little meeting, like, okay, we're going to have some dinner, then you just go back to the tent, get everything ready, because you summit in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Excuse me.
It's a full moon, so you're basically have the moonlight to summit to, but I'm just feeling worse and worse as soon as we get to base camp. Kind of that acid reflux, and tasting the acid, and you just start to kind of just want to curl up and ball. About 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, they're like, okay, start getting ready. I'm like, just thinking I just want to stay here, but just pull myself, get the gumption up to make it out of the tent, and start climbing. One of the porters is like, let me take your backpack for you at least and carry that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you on that. So here you go. I'm not going to be mad enough and be stubborn enough to say, I can do this. So I'm like, okay, here you go. You can carry that up. But yeah, about an hour into it, kind of, had a few times to relieve myself, and then felt much better. And start climbing, and about sunrise, you peak at that summit, and it's just beautiful scenery. And then from there, there's technically 2 summits. So you hit the first summit, and then another 30 minutes hour up, and you hit that second summit, and you can see everything.
Pretty hefty grade, or is it just pretty gradual?
It wasn't too bad. It was a gradual grade, and there was nothing super technical about it. It was great that we
Just
had
a path.
porters to pace ourselves.
Yeah.
Pacing is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And the porters are great. We had, basically by the time we got to our camp for the night, they had our tent set up for us. They had
That's
a
nice.
cook tent, so all we had to do is go drop our stuff. We could go to the cook tent, and they had warm tea and different things for us to eat and drink, and they actually prepared all the food. So
Sheesh.
it was nice that we didn't have to worry about all that once you got to camp. So,
Yeah. What was the best thing you ate on that trip? Like on the actual summit,
on the actual
on the way up, or the way down.
Can't remember too much food. It was surprising they had like chicken and different things like that. So we actually had some great food, and they had breakfast was, I can't remember what they called it, chicken and different things like that. So we actually had some great food, and they had, breakfast was, I can't remember what they called it, but it was kind of like a cream of wheat, which was actually pretty good and gave you a lot of energy. So, all the food was really good for what you would expect climbing a mountain. So it's better than a dehydrated pack of food that
It's better than what Frisbee said he had on his way to shoot yaks in the Middle East. Well, so they made like a fermented milk.
Oh.
And it was like goat milk that they kept in the lining of like a stomach, and it fermented there, and so the guys that were his porters they looked like Himalayan or Asian, but they spoke Russian.
Okay.
So you can imagine, and then he had two porters with him by himself, and so you had two people speaking Russian that you didn't know what they were saying, and then you're eating stuff and drinking stuff and then you don't want to grimace and you don't want to like say anything negatively, but it was a lot of bread.
Okay.
And then when they were bringing the meat back, they cut it into chunks, and then they were stopping at these villages, and it was kind of like a tribute. They would give part of the meat to these villagers, and then the villagers would sit down with them and like kind of prepare it real fast, eat a little bit with them, share cheeses with them and stuff like that on their descent.
Huh.
Pretty cool. By the time they got done at the bottom, almost all the meat was gone.
Okay.
And they shot two, or I think he shot two.
Oh, wow.
I think is what the episode, what he said, they shot two, and then on the horseback down, which took longer than the way up.
Okay.
Because they were stopping at all these villages,
Okay.
and I guess these porters kind of knew these families, and they had little to nothing on the way up.
So they actually ate the yak meat on the way down?
Yeah. They were like sit down at the table, and it was kind of a tradition that they did that.
That's pretty cool.
Which is, it was a great story.
Yeah.
Awesome story.
As soon as we summit, we're looking forward just to getting down. took about 4 days to get to the top, and a day and a half to get down. So,
I bet. Yeah. I bet. When my wife and I went to Utah for, I think it was like 2021. Yeah, it's been a couple years, 3 years. And we flew into Vegas, and we drove up to, what is it? Where they have the Narrows. I'm going blank here.
I'm sure.
This is going to kill me. I'm going to have to dub this out. Golly, where the hell is the Narrows?
Utah?
It's in Utah. It's oh crap. It's not. Well, Moab has the Arches.
Yeah,
Moab has the Arches National Park, but it's.
I've only been to Provo, so I couldn't tell you.
Jesus, God, I talk about it all the time. I'm just going blank. Alan Cumming goes a pretty good bit. God, that's gonna kill me. Are you looking it up? Yeah. Look it up. God, it's killing me right now. It's they have like 30 trailheads. Zion National Park.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. So we fly into Vegas and we drive up to Zion. And the first day we kind of just like map everything out. And we've been training for a long time. And it was COVID. We didn't want to wear the mask. And we just wanted to be outside hiking. We kind of agreed that it was our time to kind of do it. If we were going to do it, this is the time to do it. We were both in our early 40s, 30s. And if we're going to do it, this is the time to do it. So we map it out. We do a couple trailheads, nothing hard, maybe like an hour most. There, go hour in and then, take 20 minutes to get back. And then day 2, we decide to do the Narrows. Well, you're hiking in water anywhere from like your shoe deep all the way from my wife, she's 4'10", up to her waist. And then they have a couple waterfalls, and so you have one way that you go in that most people go in where you're just hiking into the stream, and most of it's you can kind of swing back and forth and stuff. But then when you get way down into it, which we got into like mile 5, which took us a while to get back there. I think it took us about 6-7 hours to get back there. You're having to use a stick to get back there, and people get younger and younger the further you go. And so we decided to turn back, and it took us no time to get back because we kind of knew the deal. And then when we got into the canyon, it was 104, and this is September. So a lot of people don't know about lower Utah. It gets that hot. When we got down, it was like 75, and the water was pretty cold. But there's another way you can get into it, where bless you, where you can helicopter in, or you can drive into the other side of it and rappel down, and then hike 7 miles downstream.
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't rappelling down a canyon.
Come on.
I've rappelled before, but I've never rappelled into a canyon. I was not about to do that. So we did that. We did the arches, which was awesome. It was really cold up there when we were there, because we went from 104, and when we got to the arches, it was 36 and snowing.
Wow.
So it was wild. And then we left there and went to Salt Lake City. And when we did Salt Lake City, I can't remember the name of the trailhead, but we did one where you climbed a lot of elevation. So we had to stop quite a bit, and it was mostly you're hiking on boulders. So you were hiking boulder to boulder to boulder to boulder. So it was pretty hard on your thighs. But at the first pool, they called it the first pool, first summit, they had a pretty big waterfall, and that was kind of the attraction. Cool. And it took us about 4 hours to get there. That was the first one. And then it was another like 2.5, 3 hours to get to the next pool. And we were like, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's awesome experiences to get out there and do those things and see those things. But you got to be healthy to do it.
Yeah.
You got to take care of your body some and do those things. All right, before we move on, you got to rinse. You said you've never tasted this. I wanted to bring it so that way.
Say single barrel is one of my favorites.
Yes. This is E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. I'll let you pour yours. This is this last year. This is 2023 edition. It's 131.1 proof, so it's definitely barrel proof. E.H. Taylor's a high rye. It's the story of E.H. Taylor is a great story. That'll be for another podcast because I can spend all the time. I'm actually a direct descendant of E.H. Taylor. Did you know that?
You told me.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten a few of my bottles that I first started getting E.H. Taylor from you. So I started getting heavier into the genealogy, and so my great grandfather, his great grandfather was E.H. Taylor. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. My grandfather's name was Blanton Taylor.
Oh, wow.
So kind of
Taylor.
Yeah, but his great grandmother, her maiden name was Blanton, so that's kind of the connection there. Wasn't that? You want some of this?
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. So, what'd you think of the midwinters?
Yeah,
pretty tasty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a nice.
It's one of those that been winter. I haven't seen it in a while.
Right.
I was up in Breckenridge this winter and saw it at one of the liquor stores there. It was about $2.50. I'm like, do I pull the trigger on this? I've never had it. Everybody
it's marked up.
It's good. I know it's marked up some. But I've never seen it before, so.
It's the retail has jumped on that one. When I first started buying midwinters, it was around like $80, maybe $90, $100. Now the retail's around $140.
Yeah.
And so it is marked up a pretty good bit, but how many times are you going to see it?
Exactly. That's why I like, I don't know, but I left on the shelf. So.
Yeah. It's funny, one of my first ones I ever got, I brought down to my folks' place, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. It's great rye. And so they sample it just like neat.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think that'd make a good old-fashioned. So they just made an old-fashioned with it. I'm like, what are you doing? It's just not what you do with a, well, yeah, I guess you do that with a rye.
Well, actually, most of my bottles, I love old-fashions. So,
Yeah.
I've probably made an old-fashioned with every bottle I've opened, whether it's a low-cost bottle or a high-cost bottle. But
Sure.
Philosophy is you just get a better old-fashioned if you have a better bourbon in there.
Yeah. What do you think about this one?
It's good. Nice nose, good feel on the tongue.
Mm-hmm. Josh, this is probably one of the better bottles I've brought. When he asked for it, I was like, just happen to have one open.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like to end every podcast the same way. I like for our guests to give some shout outs to people that have made a difference, whether that's mentors, family members, friends, acquaintances, anybody, anywhere, anything you want. It's open game. All I ask is that if you give a shout out, you kind of mention maybe why.
Okay.
So that way that person knows if you share this podcast with them, they kind of have an idea of what's going on.
Yes. First and foremost, I just have to thank my wife, Stacy. So
Most people thank a wife or a husband.
Yeah. Just any of this stuff wouldn't be possible without her. She's, her family has a ranch, so the ranch wouldn't be around if it wasn't for her. It was her idea of, hey, let's get these Airbnbs out here. So she's an integral part of the daily operations of it. So you're probably going to be talking to her if you're looking at booking and all that. So she's much better on the marketing and the guest side, and I just kind of like doing the fun stuff and the shooting and all that type of thing. Some of the behind the scenes stuff, but yeah, she's the rock, the person that's been there. So the reason I'm even here in Texas. So got to give a shout out to her. Our employees at the ranch, I have to thank them. They've been a big part of it. And there's been a huge change of the grounds from what it was when we got it and what it is today. So people that have been coming out there for years, when they come out now, they can't believe how great it looks and all the upgrades we've made to it. So Sean, our ranch manager, his wife, Virginie, she works for us. And then Ron's our other ranch hand out there. So they've all done a great job, and you'll get to interact with them if you do the activities when you come out. So like I said, Sean does all the horseback riding and does helping with the shooting. Ron helps with the shooting. They're all there to kind of help you check in and any questions you have, they're there to help. So everybody else around there, there's tons of people to try to give a shout out to that have been around and been there through the years. Everything from family. You got to thank all them for where we are and who we are today. So just give a shout out to.
It seems like the city's kind of warmed up to the ranch, and
Palestine's great.
It's
we get a lot of support from them. A lot of organizations in Tyler like to involve the ranch and starting to get a lot more corporate and nonprofits and stuff that want to do things out there. So there's just a ton of people to thank for just the success of the ranch. Mother-in-law is a big part of the ranch too. My father-in-law, Jerry Spencer, his kind of playground and place passion that he loved. Unfortunately, he passed a few years ago, so it's great to carry on the tradition and share it with people. I know it means a lot to my wife to be able to do that for him. So
Absolutely, man, it's awesome.
Yeah,
thanks for telling the story.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I appreciate you having me here, and hopefully I'm interesting enough.
Yeah, absolutely, and
I feel great on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You had another event that somebody wanted you to be at, but you came on anyway. I appreciate that. You'd already made a commitment.
To you, so
I know. I really appreciate that, and really enjoyed the story. It's a cool thing. We're going to attach you guys' link.
Okay. Yeah.
When we post it,
the web link and everything to that.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, you can book everything straight through there and see what the ranch is about.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's been a great time talking to you.
Yeah.
It's a great spot. I haven't been out there personally. I got invited to the first one, but I didn't make it. I know. You're welcome to give me the business. We need to get out there for sure. I can't wait to go out there and experience that area because it sounds exactly the type of area that I enjoy for
I
sure.
want to have another, kind of a guys
Yeah.
weekend out there. So
I'm in this time.
Hopefully you're
I'm in
not
this
busy
time.
this time.
Just don't plan it whenever I'm doing anything else.
I'll
But
have to, get with you first. Hey, do you have anything
yeah,
this weekend?
exactly.
All right.
Is this weekend good? Is this weekend good? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Man, appreciate it. Thanks
All
so
right.
much for being
Well,
on.
thank you.
All right, episode 15 is done. We have episode 16 coming up. We've got a really, really cool guest for episode 16. It will be a Skype call, which I'm not really crazy about, but we do them when we have these types of guests. It will be a national guest. We've got Kobe Desmond coming on for, he's a marketing brand manager for Fortaleza. You will not want to miss that one. We got a lot of good information to talk about, a lot of fun stuff. It'll be very interesting. Make sure you tune in to episode 15 and look forward to episode 16. Thanks so much. Have a good one.